Welcome to Divine Honey Podcast. I'm your host, your friend, your daily inspiration, Tamika Johnson. If this is your first time tuning into the show is about human experiences. This includes thought provoking conversations, and most importantly, our Divine Honey guests who continue to share stories about love, life, journey, and purpose. If you're watching live or on the replay and you're inspired to leave a comment, please do so. We look forward to seeing you and hearing your comments and your feedback. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Bougie Girl channel. You do not want to miss any episodes of Divine Honey and any of the other amazing videos. I would like to welcome this week's Divine Honey guest, Yolanda Wimbley. She's a proud mother and a transformative life coach. Her business is Make Me Over, transformative life coaching for women. She has a certification in phlebotomy and has an associate's in human relations. And now we can add author to her many accomplishments. Today, she is here sharing with us her memoir, A Mother's Love. This book, she is transparent, vulnerable, and discussing mental health issues, failures, triumphs, and perseverance. Welcome, Yolanda.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining. And I do want to congratulate you on your book. It's a big accomplishment, and we're happy you're sharing your story with us.
Yes, it was a labor of love for sure. Definitely. I was really in a space where I just let it all hang out. Um, it was times when I was like, do I want to share that? Like, do I want to, offer up that information? And it was, why not? Why not share the information that I shared in the book? I feel like it was warranted for this time and season. And so I did.
Yes, and we're glad you did. How did you know that it was time to do it? And what was that process?
Well, even before I moved here to Arizona, I knew it was time. I had been talking about writing a book for a long period of time, even before I got here from Atlanta. So once I got here, well, let me back up a little bit. I lost my mom. So that really was like a big push. Like, you got to do this. You got to live your life, to the fullest. You got to do all those things that you desire and you dream about. So it was more of a memorial to my mom also. She's a big inspiration as to why I went on and wrote the book. I felt like people needed to hear our story, because I felt like it was so many other mothers and daughters, like relationships like hers and mine, that needed to be talked about, those things that nobody wants to share. And I felt like it needed to be shared, and now was the time.
Yes. Okay. So in the book, A Mother's Love, it outlines you and your mother's relationship. Can you explain what that was? And then the big part with mental health, how that played a part?
So let me bag up, because when people read the book, for sure, they will see me talk about a lot of trauma,
Mhm.
a lot of things that was not comfortable that happened during my childhood and upbringing, but also things that had transpired in my mother's life as she was parenting.
Mhm.
Um, but my mother was a wonderful woman. She had her desires for me and my brothers were, she wanted us to be successful. She wanted us to be better than what she had done. And there were so many dreams, I'm sure, that she never was able to live up and live out and accomplish. So I just had to write the book. But the book is very transparent. I saw my mom deal with a lot of mental health issues. And of course, in the Black community, we don't talk about mental health. You know, we just always suck it up. You're a strong Black woman. Get over it. You'll be all right. And I see, different things transpire in my family that really sent my mother further into depression, And of course, with us not being able to talk about depression and mental health in the Black community, she suffered in silence. And it came out in through her parenting, through her relationships, not just as a parent, but in her relationships in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would hear my mother often say how my nerves are bad. I didn't know what that meant, early on, but she said that often. And I got to a point where my nerves became bad, because that was the way that I had heard depression and anxiety expressed as your nerves being bad. So a lot of times I didn't understand why my mother would communicate with me in certain terms and why she did certain things that she did. And I became resentful to my mom because I felt I was looking for our relationship to be what I saw on TV, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't realistic, you know. So there was a lot of resentment, and along the way, I started getting involved in certain situations that were not unhealthy, that really sent me down a really dark path. Where I started having issues with my own mental health, and I wind up, just succumbing to certain things that I had no idea um what I was doing in those moments. I was just trying to pacify myself and comfort myself, and self-medicating through sex
Mm-hmm.
and other things that were unhealthy.
Yes. So in that, in turn, you were looking for love
Of course,
and validation.
for sure.
And how were you able to? What was the thing that helped you push through, like your traumas?
So I always, I think we always have somebody that is stable
Mm-hmm.
enough in our lives to kind of give us a glimmer of hope and light. And for me, I had a mentor. Um, like I said, in spite of what was going on with my mother, she was still she was still a light.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, my grandmother was around, and I always felt like it was something more. I always felt like that. Even in the midst of the trauma, I always felt like it's got to be more than this. This just can't be it. I've always felt like it was so much more greater in me than what I was experiencing in that moment. So I never gave up. I'm like, okay, it's got to be something better. It has to be. And when I just started believing in myself and growing into myself and loving everything about me that made me me, even those things that I felt like I didn't like about me, I accepted all of me, even those things. And when I did that, it was like an aha moment. Like, Yolanda, you're great just the way you are. Those incidents of things that happened to you, that is not who you are. So I began to just dig deeper into myself. Like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
I spent time with myself. I began to explore and do different things that I had never done before, like packing up and moving from Atlanta to Arizona. That was a big milestone in my life. Big, 43, I pack up and leave my job for 14 years. It was like, no, I got to see what's out here in this world. I can't just stay here in this spot anymore. I got to go out and see what's out there. And that's what I did.
Amazing. We do have a comment. It says advice on overcoming feelings of fear and feelings of unworthiness.
So fear is always with us. A lot of us don't want to recognize, hey, that this is fear. I took fear with me. In
Mm-hmm.
the face of fear, we have to do it with fear in our pocket. It's like, okay, fear, you here, you coming with me. I'm not gonna allow you to stop me, because fear is not necessarily gonna go away. Because
No,
people are always like, I'll do it when I'm over the fear. Okay, you gotta bring that fear with you. And
do it
I
afraid.
allowed, yes, and I allowed the fear to be the thing that pushed me. Because it's like, if I'm afraid, it must be something real great on the other side of this. You get what I'm saying? Because why am I so fearful? It must be something really, really great. So you know what, fear? You coming with me. Because me and you both gonna see what's on the other side of this. And finding my worth, it had a lot to do with my self-esteem and how I viewed myself. I had viewed myself so long through the lenses of what other people said
Mm-hmm.
and what other people thought of me. And it's like, okay, Yolanda, but what do you think of you? How do you see your worth? And I really sat down and I had to sit with myself and think about, who am I? What makes me worthy? And nobody can answer that question for you. That's a
Mm-hmm.
question that you have to sit with and say, and why are you not worthy? Why am I not worthy? Because somebody said that I'm not worthy. Assuming because of the things that have transpired in my life makes me unworthy. Why am I not unworthy? And it's like, Yolanda, you are worthy. So self-talk, anything motivational, it was like, give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had heard so much negative information being fed into me, I started feeding myself with everything positive, anything motivational, listening to her, reading. That's what I fed myself. So we have to feed ourselves with positive information, positive confirmation. Even the people that we allow into our atmosphere, it has to be positive, because when you're in a space where you feel like you're unworthy and you got fear there, you need to attach yourself to whatever is positive.
What would you say to anyone that's watching or is going to watch this? Um, how can they overcome? Like, what is the first step of, because we spoke about esteem, right? And not using the word not weak, we're standing in our vulnerability. So more so, how about this? How do you stand in your vulnerability? What advice, how did you do it? And what advice would you give in that space?
I had to sit with the things that I was uncomfortable about that had transpired in my life. I had to sit with it. I had to really take a good internal look at those things that I didn't like about myself, that I felt like I had allowed to transpire in my life, and I had to forgive myself. So forgiveness is key, because we always talk about us forgiving other people.
Mm-hmm.
We have to forgive ourselves too, which is the hardest thing to do, because most of us can be so critical of ourselves, and I was so critical of myself. I felt like, why did my life turn out like this? Like, why did these things happen to me? I'm not a bad person. Like, why? And I really had to forgive myself and say, I didn't know who I was in that moment. I didn't know who I was. And I had to accept that in those moments, I didn't know who I was. And it's all right. So compassion is key.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about compassion. You got to be compassionate to them. What about self-compassion? We have to have self-compassion for ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves. So the first step is to forgive yourself for those things that you're holding on to,
Mm-hmm.
that has made you feel unworthy, that has caused you to second guess your worth. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness is key.
Do you think um Black women were harder on ourselves? Like, we lack compassion for ourselves.
Yes.
And how do we fight that? How do we jump that hurdle of showing compassion and love for ourselves and expecting that from other people?
that's that's the hardest thing. I think our expectations of each other, especially when it comes to Black women, we're so hard on each other. We are so hard on each other. And a lot of us have some of the same realities. And I really feel like we have to compassion, compassion. And I think, like I just said, that compassion starts with you. When you can give yourself that compassion, then you're able to give it to others. But a lot of times, women, as Black women, we don't sit with ourselves and just allow ourselves to be compassionate to yourself. If you haven't done that for you, you can't give it to anybody else. You don't embody that. So you have to stand in a space where you're compassionate. You have to do it for you first. You have to. You're not able to give what you don't embody and what you don't have.
Can't give what you don't have. I do have another question for you from Iman. It's from your book, which experience do you keep with yourself as a lesson and you're happy that you've learned?
Oh, wow. What experiences I keep with myself? That's a good one, Iman. um, the dark nights, the dark, lonely nights when I felt like nobody cared. I still that still is with me. I still hold on to those moments, but I hold on to them as a way of motivating me. Like, no, that happened. I remember it. I won't ever forget it, but it does not have any power or control over me anymore. So I take those things and I use them as a way to it's strength for me now because I'm not in that space anymore, but I understand what it looks like and feel like to be in that space.
Nice. I love it.
Um my children, my children are like one of the best things that happened to me in my life. One of the best things. And I always wanted them to be proud of me. We talk about so much how parents want, we want our kids, the kids want to make us proud. Well, what about us making our children proud?
Mm.
What about I want my children to be able to say, Yolanda Wimbley is my mother. Like, that's my mom. Not, yeah, that's my mama. You get what I'm saying? I want them to be proud of me. I want them to be able to say, that's my mama. Do you know who my mother is? With gleam in their eyes, not like, yeah, that's my mama. But I want them to be proud of me. Not only do they try and make me proud, I want them to be proud of me.
Love it. There, we have another question from G Ware. It says, hey, what are some things that you did deal with grief after losing your mom? I lost my mom in 2016 and it still feels as though I lost her yesterday.
You know what? We always hear people say, "Oh, you'll get over it with time. Just give it time." I don't know if that's something that you ever get over. You know, your mother was the first introduction when it came to you entering into this world. That's the first person you met besides the doctors. But this person is the one that helped you grow and it taught you lessons. And of course, we feel like over time that it'll just go away and we'll get over it. No, but you hold on to those lessons that your mother taught you because your mother is still with you. She ain't gone. She lives through you. And that's what I hold on to. My mother lives through me. I am my mother. You are your mother. Male or female, it's not about sex. You are your mother. And you may not never get to a point where that's totally a space where you just, okay, it's all right. I don't think that's what it's about, forgetting about that person. You'll never forget them. You'll always hold on to my mother's not here. but hold on to what was the lessons that she taught you when she was here. What are the things that you can take from her and pass it on to your children? Because your mother is still living, because you're still here. You're an extension of her. And I think as time go on and you come into your purpose and your truth as to why you're here, then everything else makes sense. Even while your mother is no longer here. Everything happened. We hear this saying so much, it can be cliche that everything happens for a reason. Even with my mother passing, it was like, okay, God, why now? More conversations. It was so many things more that I needed to say. And it was like God just cut that in the mid with no explanation. Nobody knew it was gonna happen. It just happened. And I'm like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do now with this? And he was like, you need to learn how to forgive and go live your life on purpose to the fullest. And that's what I would encourage anybody who has lost their mom. Go live your life on purpose. Um, Learn how to forgive. Um, and teach your children the things that your mom taught you that you still hold on to. And that's what we usually hold on to. And that's why we miss them so much and why we'll never get over it. Because those things that they instilled in us. And it's all right if you'll never get over it. It's all right. Never let anybody make you feel any type of way because you're grieving 16 years later. It's perfectly fine.
So, what is the biggest lesson that your mother taught you? And also, what do you think she would say now? Look, if you were sitting side by side with her, what do you think she would say to you?
Oh, I think she would be so proud
Mm-hmm.
to see her face on the cover of a book.
Yes.
Whoo, she will be ecstatic. Like me, Yolanda, you wrote a book about me and I'm on the cover of the book. She will be so proud of me.
Yes. I do love that you reading the book. I will say this, it felt like I was there in the pages, like with you and your mother. I could see what everybody looked like, what they were doing. And the thing I appreciated is, man, you showed your mom compassion. A lot of us don't do that. We don't realize that our parents were people. They were, before they were our mothers, they were hurt. Things happened to them. And I love that you showed her compassion, and it was a beautiful book.
Yeah, I mean, once I became a parent and it really made me reflect on my relationship with my mom. And then I started thinking about all the things that I had went through before I became a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought about my mom, like, okay, I don't know what all she went through before she became a mother. She was a daughter, she was a cousin, she was so many, a girlfriend, a wife at some time point in her life. And it's like, I don't know what all transpired during that time before she became my mother. And a lot of times we only see our moms in one dimension, just
Mm-hmm.
our mother, nothing else. We don't see the pain that they may have endured in their childhood. We don't see, um, the different traumatic things that may have transpired or did transpire. We don't necessarily know. And one day they're our moms. So we hold our mothers to a certain status. We
Mm-hmm.
have them on this pedestal or whatever, and not realizing that they are human. They have feeling and emotions. They have had hurt and pain. They have had things that they never really dealt with and got over. And sometimes it comes out in their relationships and in their parenting. And I had to take a moment and just sit with that. Like, okay, I'm sure some things that my kids don't necessarily agree with some of the decisions I have made in my own personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I had to realize, and it's like, okay, that's where the compassion came in at. Like, okay, Yolanda, you want compassion from your children because you don't necessarily think they understand like your journey up until becoming a parent. What about your mother?
Ooh.
What about your mom? You don't think she had a journey before she became your mother? So you got to extend that compassion to her. Because I sat in a space for a long time where I couldn't forgive my mama for some things that I felt like she should have did different,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then it was like, Yolanda, that's not all right. When my mother actually got ill, because I'm really transparent, even in the book about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I seen her not at her best. I seen the vulnerability. I saw not just my mother in that moment, I saw a Black woman that had done everything that she could possibly do with what she had so me and my siblings would be all right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of that, sometimes she made decisions that I didn't necessarily understand. And sometimes it came out her pushing us, especially me being the only girl, her pushing me. It wasn't always comfortable. It didn't always sound like it wasn't always peaches and cream,
Mm-hmm.
because she was determined that she didn't want me to wind up like her. So she said it the best way she knew how, and it was all out of love. But of course, in those moments, it didn't sound like it. It did not sound like it. But as I've grown and just my understanding, she wanted nothing but the best for me. And if she was sitting right here, she would say, I am so proud of you. I always knew that you had it in you. I always knew, because our parents they see our gifts and talents. They see them from the very beginning. And they try to get us to see what they see, but we just don't see it in those moments, but they do. So they do everything humanly possible to get us to that point. And a lot of times we're resistant, like, huh,
Mm-hmm.
what? Because we got so many other influences, our peers, our own mindset, and so it's like it's like a tug of war, and but I think she would be proud of me. I know she is. I
I
know
think
she's
she will
proud of
be
me.
too. Actually, we have a few questions, but we have a question who is from the next person. It's from Gerald Nunez. What's your best memory you have from your childhood with your mother? What's your favorite quote from your mother?
Oh, honey, I don't even know why you brought up quotes. That lady had some quotes. Oh, she was funny. Let me tell you something. She was funny for sure. I think about her coming. She was always at the school. She was always involved. You know, if I had a speech, she was there. Um, every holiday, we went to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother always cooked. So we was always together as a family. One of her favorite quotes. It's so many, Gerald. I don't know where to start. She would always say, anytime something came up about money and you owed the bill and you didn't have the money, she was like, pay on what you could pay now and pay the rest later. Or either she would say, someone was I don't know if I can say it on the podcast.
Oh, go ahead. You speak freely. You speak
Okay, speak
freely.
freely. Okay, don't tell me that. Cause Mama has some sayings. um, I'm trying to think of one. She always would talk about rob Peter to pay Paul, and um,
Mm-hmm.
Another one she would have is funny because she would, work like cleaning up people's homes or cleaning up different offices or whatever. And if it was something that we didn't have at home, she would bring it home from the job. And we would always be like, they gave you that? And she would be like, those are my fringe benefits. And that was her way of saying, no, they ain't give it to me, but we needed it. So I just thought I'll just borrow it and bring it on home. They ain't gonna miss it.
Yeah.
Or it's so many. I can't even think right now, Jerry. You put me on the spot. Um, so she had a friend. Now this one is gonna be a little explicit. And she kept going back to the man. He would jump on her and beat her, and she would continue to go back. And my mother would be like, why you keep messing? Why you keep going back? You act like he got a gold dick with silver nuts and a diamond in his navel. And I would be sitting there like, what? She had some sayings that was out of this world. That was just, everybody loved her. Everybody that came into her presence, they left laughing. She always had something funny to say. She was very uplifting and she was very giving in the community. Everybody knew her in our neighborhood. Nobody did not know Ada, and they knew that she did not play. She was definitely that mother in the neighborhood. Like, do not go around Ada doors shooting them dice. She gonna call the police on you. Sometimes she would be like, look, y'all give me about $5-10 of them dollars, or I'm gonna call the police. That was just her. And everybody knew that she didn't really want to call the police on anybody, but it's like, you're not gonna do it in front of my door.
Right. Just so you know.
Just so you know, you got to go somewhere else with that. You're not going to do that in front of my door. But everybody loved her. I mean, there are still friends of hers that still call me today.
Oh, that's amazing.
And like, I really miss your mom. She was like one of my best friends, and she always made me laugh. And, so it's so many sayings, Jared. Maybe I should write a book with just her sayings in it, because I can't even think right now.
G Ware says, where can you find the book? It's on Amazon. The link is in the description. I will also post it in the comment, and we'll give more. I'll reiterate at the end of the pod as well, but I just saw that comment. But Iman had something else for you. What's some advice you can give to people who deal with experience that may be similar to your own?
They need to just come on over so I can help life coach them.
Yes, and that her website is in the link or is in the description as well.
And so that's definitely a journey. Some of our experiences may be similar, but of course we're all different. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on the other individual. But one, I would say, and it'll go back to what I said earlier: compassion. Mm-hmm. Having self-compassion for yourself and not allowing those things to define you, because that's not who you are. And that's what we have to remember. Those are just experiences and things that happen, but that's not who you are. And don't allow anybody to put you in that box and say, because these things transpired in your life, or you got involved in these things, or you did this, that's who you are. No, it's not. That's not who you are. Those are just experiences that happen along your journey in this life. We all have them. So it's not about the experience. It's about how you as an individual handle that experience. Do you allow it to define who you are, or do you take that experience and you learn from it? Or do you just let it like, okay, I guess I'm just that person because these are the things that happen, so that's who I am? No, that's not who you are. You're not defined by your experiences. You are defined by how you handle those experiences moving forward.
Well, good one. I like this question. This is from Deontez. It's what is the importance of faith in your life? Because in the book, it shows your walk of you starting to go to church and or going, someone inviting you to church and you really wanted to be there, and then how basically you walked in your faith and you listened to God and walking in your purpose. So describe a little about that.
So you cannot have this. You can have a journey without faith in God and spirituality, but I don't know how successful you would be.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of living out to your full potential. So I've always had a relationship with God, even in the midst of going through all the different trials that I went through. So God has played a significant role in my life and who I am becoming and who I have became already. Um, if it was not for my creator, I don't know if I would have gotten through a lot of those situations, because it was a time when I felt like I was literally gonna lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I crazy? And I found in that space that no, I wasn't crazy and no, I wasn't going to lose my mind. But God was trying to get me to a space where He could truly use me for His purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, my faith, I don't think I would be here without my faith. Um, my faith is what I hold on to every day of my life. It's so important. I don't think you can try to live in this world and just be so great and so happy and so whatever else without faith in God, and of course we all call Him different things. Some, call Him Allah, some call Him Jesus. I'm not one of those people that like to get into the who's right, who's wrong when it comes to that. I just really feel like it's about relationship. It's about having a relationship with the creator. Now, what you call him, I'm not gonna get into that. I don't like to go down that rabbit hole, because I think it's insignificant at the end of the day, because it's only one. And I think when you seek out truth, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes from the creator, you're gonna find it. I don't care what you call him. That's just my opinion. When you seeking truth, when it comes to just the creation and the creator, you're gonna find it. You will find it, no matter what you choose to call them. You're gonna find it. And my faith has been. I wouldn't be in Arizona without faith. Faith is what got me here. Faith and fear.
Ooh.
Faith and fear is what got me here. I was afraid. I kept having this nudging in my spirit, like, Yolanda, you gotta leave, you gotta leave. And I'm like, I've been at my job 14 years. Are you serious, God? How am I gonna leave? I'm like 40 something years old. How am I just gonna pack up and go start over? And that faith part just kept pushing, like, you gotta leave. And I got up one day and I called my son and I said, I'm leaving Atlanta. And he was like, okay. I went to work that next morning and I wrote my resignation. I was literally shaking as I was typing my resignation. That was fear.
Mm-hmm.
But faith was in the room too. Okay. I typed the resignation. I sent it over. I hit send. Faith hit send. Fear was shaking, but it still happened.
Oh, I love that.
So in the process, I'm like, okay, Lord, where am I gonna live when I get there? And let me show you how faith works. I said, where am I gonna live when I get there? So I went online and I started looking for places to live. And I found my apartment in Tempe. They was like, okay, just let us know when you get here. I said, okay, there go faith. I found somewhere to live. Then fear came and knocked on the door again and said, well, where you gonna work? And people would implant fear into you too if you listen to them. That's
100%.
why you have to be careful who you're talking to. And they was like, wait, where you gonna work? Where you gonna this? I went online. Here come Faith again. I said, oh, I'm gonna find a job. The Mayo Clinic called me, the number one hospital in the nation, called Yolanda Wimbley. That was Faith. They called. We did the interview. They called me back. They offered me the job. But in addition to them offering me the job, they said, we're going to give you a sign-on bonus and relocation money. When you step out on faith in the process of the fear, this is what happens. So it was like, okay, Lord, I was so high on faith at that time, I forgot about the fear. It was like, what fear? There was no fear anymore. God had shown me that if in the process I had faith in what he was saying, even if I didn't realize what the outcome would be, just follow my voice. Just follow my voice. At the end of the day, I know it don't make sense. I know you can't see where you're going, but follow my voice. And when I follow his voice, I made it safely here to Arizona. I didn't miss a beat. I moved right into my apartment. I started working 3 weeks after I got here. I was making more money than I was making at LabCorp.
Ooh. And he was with you every step of the way.
He was with me every step of the way. So faith, you got to have faith and fear. When you got fear, you better have some faith somewhere. So I had both of them. But I allowed that faith, even time fear tried to raise its ugly head. I'm like, okay, I knew the voice of God and I knew what he was saying. So I'm like, okay, I couldn't, it was just something in my bone. Like I had to follow the voice. And that's why I talk about that inner voice. We all have it. Each and every one of us have it. The question is, are you going to listen? Or are you going to allow the things of your past to overshadow the voice of God? Because God is always speaking. We just have to have the faith to follow. And we have to open ourselves up to listen. Because he's always speaking. He's never not speaking.
Mm-hmm.
He's never not in a space where he's not guiding us. The question is, are we going to follow?
Oh, I love it. Are we going to follow? Another faith. Yep. Tanya here said faith over here. And Iman, her question was, and this is a great question because a lot of, and especially in our community, is dealing with mental health. And, we don't talk about it. There's a lot of judgment, secret behind it. So what extracurricular activities do you consider for people dealing with mental health issues? Because with dealing with mental health issues, you have to do things, to lift your spirits, or you have to kind of keep moving, not be idle.
I'm so glad you asked that question. So I think earlier, if y'all can see the back of my wall here, my backdrop here. So I do a lot of canvas painting now. I had never painted in my life just to be painting. So now I do a lot of canvas painting. It's very therapeutic. I have several different paintings that I've painted myself, and I have them hanging in my home. So one of them is behind me. The one here, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to show you this one. So I painted that one myself, and it's just a little family. So I do a lot of canvas painting. I recently became a plant mother, so I have tons of plants. Never could grow a plant in my life. So I find that these things are all therapeutic. And the plants give me something to nurture. Most of us are nature nurturers by nature. So with the plants, and they're gonna give me a return. I don't have to worry about them kind of coming back later on and throwing anything up in my face. So so definitely canvas painting, plants, journaling,
Mm-hmm.
um finding something that you enjoy doing just for you, without the kids, without the spouse. This is just for me. This brings me to a space where I'm peaceful, and it brings out your creativity. I would recommend anybody do canvas paint. You don't have to know how to paint. It's called abstract paint. You just get you some paint and a canvas and just go for it. So painting for sure, because a lot of us in the process of those dark moments, we kind of, the creativity doesn't go anywhere, but those dark moments kind of overshadow the creativity. So we feel like we it's just not there. It's still there. You just gotta ignite it. It ain't went nowhere. So being creative, arts and crafts, and I know that sounds so simple, but think about it. When we were children, we did arts and crafts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the biggest thing to run home and bring mommy that picture that you colored or painted. So it's the simple things. It's just getting back to those things that are just so simple, that 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 could be just so significant and so therapeutic. And I would say anything arts and crafts.
Oh, I love it. Well, Yolanda, at the end of each episode, we do 9 questions, just right off the dome. The
Oh
first word
Lord.
you ever think of. So,
Huh?
the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. What's your favorite word?
My favorite word, honey.
What's your least favorite word?
I can't. I know that's more than one word, but anything negative.
Yep. What would you consider your theme song? What would represent you?
I'm coming out. I want the world to know. That was the first thing came to my mind.
Love it. What sound or noise do you love?
The fan.
That is relaxing.
I sleep with my fan on year round, summer, fall, winter, spring. It's just something about the fan. It's so soothing and comforting to me.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I don't like gunshots. I hate to hear gunshots. I grew up in an environment where I heard them on a regular, so they're very triggering.
What motivates you?
My children.
Your purpose.
Oh, my purpose is to tear down the stigma that has been attached to mental health in the Black community.
Sun, moon, or stars?
Sun.
And what would you like God to say to you when you get to heaven?
Well done.
Yes, yes. Well, Yolanda's book can be found on Amazon. I do have it in the link in the description. So go straight to it, purchase it, leave her a comment, share it on your social media. Also, I put your website on there. You can get transformational coaching from her. And also on March 15th at 1 p.m., she is having a book signing at the Grassroots Bookstore in Phoenix. That's also in the link. Continue to leave comments in the section for Yolanda or any questions. And yeah, is there anything you want to leave anybody with, our audience with? Any parting words?
Look, y'all know I'm so emotional. Y'all, I wasn't supposed to have tears, but whenever I stand in a space where I'm can be open and transparent and be myself. These tears always start. It's definitely has been ministry for me, these tears. But I just want to thank everybody for listening. Please, please comment. I want to know. I want to hear from you. And I want to leave y'all with this. Listen to your inner listen to the inner spirit. It is speaking. Remember, God is always speaking. Always. And you haven't done anything too wrong, or you haven't done anything too out of his touch. He is listening, and he has a purpose for your life. Don't forget it.
Thank you, Londa, for coming on and sharing with us. We appreciate you. I wish you, book is going to be a success. Please go get it. Please support. Please support. Until next time, peace and blessings. And thank you, everybody who commented, that's listening. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.